This is Maureen Kafkas, the Brain BS Coach, here to tell you about the episode today. So in this episode, I continue to share with you modalities, or what you might want to call tools or techniques or things to consider for creating a nervous system that can support success. In this episode, I speak with health coach and level 2 practitioner of RA, Susan Scollen. She's going to explain to you what RA is, how it works, and why you might want to consider looking into it. All right, sit back, settle in. Episode 147 of the Brain BS podcast, Talking Raw with Susan Scollen. Do you want more out of your life but not exactly sure what that might be? Are you longing for something but can't quite put your finger on what it is? That is the universe speaking to you, and it is time to listen up. I'm your host, Maureen Kafkas, the Brain BS Coach. I created the Brain BS podcast to help people define what success means to them and show them how to get it. I help you to let go of fear and doubt and prepare your nervous system for success. I show you how to understand your own energy and to trust yourself to make all the decisions. If you are ready to go inward and stop looking outside yourself for all the answers, this is the podcast for you. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to the Brain BS podcast. I have my good friend Susan Scollen here today. Susan, before we get into the topic, the modality that we're talking about that can help people, why don't you let the audience know what you want them to know about you?
Sure. Lovely to be here with you, Maureen, and with your audience, which is really good fun. And so I'm in Australia and I'm a coach. I'm a health coach. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach and a life coach. And I work with people to transform their lives from, what is the dream perspective? What are the things that they want to create, rather than me telling them what to create? What do they want to create? And this is an evolution for me. And this is what I've been doing in my own life. And I do that at the moment through the podcast, my Soul Life podcast. And you've been on my Intuition and Manifestation series, which is the 10-part series, which came out recently, which is really cool. And also just through talking to people and having conversations at this point. So that's just a little bit about me.
All right. Well, and I do think it's important for the audience to know, I'm pretty sure you're the only person who's done a repeat performance on the podcast.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge.
Yes. So that's exciting stuff. But yes. You're also the only other person I know that's talked about this topic before. So I'm not saying that's the only reason you're back, because you would have been back for something else if it wasn't this. But before I get into the topic, it's called Raw. And I'm going to let Susan explain all of it to you, because I actually did it because I listened to a podcast episode with her friend Kylie about the two of them that had done it. And they were just like so excited about it and going on about it. And I was like, oh, I'm totally going to try this. So I did. And I had to interact with this person who was in Australia, right? She's in Australia too, isn't she?
Yes.
So she's in Australia. We're talking on the phone. She was hilarious, actually. We're talking on the phone. And then she's going to meet me, and we set up a time to meet after I talked to her about stuff. And then when we get together, she says this stuff to me, but I'm not supposed to write it down, and I'm not supposed to do anything. And then they don't send you anything after. It's like all in that moment. And so I invited Susan here so that she could tell all of us what the hell happened, because by the time I finished doing that with them, I had so much guilt prior to getting together with her for setting really clear boundaries with my family and upsetting all of them. It wasn't enough guilt to keep me from doing it, but it was still there and present. It was sort of like just like lingering. But boy, after I saw her, it is completely gone. So it works, whatever it was, but I can't explain it. So I need you to explain it, Susan.
Sure. So can I just check, you went into work, like the issues that you gave Pam were about that guilt? Is that?
Well, yeah, there was some stuff about guilt. There was stuff about boundaries, stopping the people pleasing, all the things that I had been working on. But yeah, I guess, well, since I didn't get to write it down and I'm 60 now, I think we talked about guilt, but I'm not absolutely positive. But she said that she spent more time doing whatever than usual. And she thought that was because of all the work I had just done, and that's why I was able to release so much.
Yeah, wow, that's
But,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So raw is rekindled ancient wisdom, and it utilizes energies to create self-healing within the body and the parts of the being. So from what the ladies share with us, because they channeled this work, that's my language, and this came through them, and they believe that it's a remembering of things that they've done in the past, in past lives, and it's come through to them in this life to take it to the next level effectively. And so in that foundation course, they talk about the 12 parts of the being. So we're moving not just through the physical
Can we
body.
tell the audience who they is?
Oh yes, Pam and Sally, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Pam Myers and Sally Worth, and they're here in Australia, Newcastle, I think they are, and they've been doing this work for about 25 years, if I'm correct. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's about 25 years. And it came off the back of, this is what they shared with me. Pam has always been into spirituality, and her father was in that space doing kinesiology and versions of that. Sally was a little bit different. She was in the media industry. She didn't believe in any of this spirituality stuff. And then because of her background, she had a big medical history as well, she decided to explore it, because you can't diss something that you haven't tried. And then pieces of the puzzle started to drop in for her. And she went and did this kinesiology course, met up with Pam, and then I think it was about 6 months later, she started writing these lists and started using the foundation work from kinesiology, which is basically muscle testing. So testing with your fingers to get a yes and a no on certain things, or to point out where you need to go on the journey with uncovering and working with the energies. And then she was able to heal herself and did that through the raw modality basically, and they've built this amazing business. So what had gone from just a foundation level has now gone to level 11. So, and there's multiple little sort of offshoots to this as well. And as I said before, it's all about self-healing. So the practitioner, Pam and Sally, or whoever they have trained, I'm a level 2 consultant, raw consultant, and that practitioner can do work on your energies for you, but you actually do the self-healing through the subconscious. And you mentioned before around, I'm 60, I can't remember what did I go there for? That's exactly what happens with raw, is once you've cleared it, it's gone. So you won't remember it, and you may have a different version of that show up. And so that's where you go back in and do some deeper work and go down, you'll probably go down another level in terms of that healing. But that's exactly what happens, is that we forget exactly what that issue was, because it's no longer part of who we are anymore.
Wow. And that's pretty amazing, because I had a lot of
sound?
growth for a very long time. So to not be
Yeah.
experiencing now, just for being myself,
Yeah.
like just for being authentic and being me, feeling like I was so guilty about my needs that I had. And after doing one session with her, it was just like, whoo, gone.
Yes. And
Right.
it can be instant. It can be really quick that that it's gone. Because what happens with once the healing has been done, the clearing, the energy work has been done, then they read it to the client, which is what you said. You can't write anything down, because if you wrote it down, it keeps it in the 3D land. So it keeps it here, as opposed to we want to clear that off. So then what Pam would have done is go and burn it. So she would have read everything out to you and then gone and burn it. And half the stuff that she would tell you about, you're like, I don't understand. But you don't need to understand. Just know that the work has been done for you.
Yeah. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of emotion code with the finger manual muscle testing or whatever. Frank Illaridi, who came on my podcast to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and he would point out broadcast messages that I was sending out and different things. But yeah, that's so weird, as I'm sitting here trying to think of some of the other things that she told me I can't. And I'm kidding about like not being able to remember because I'm 60, because I actually usually have a pretty good memory about stuff like that. But you're right, it's gone. So it's not an issue anymore. And it's just out of my conscious awareness now.
Correct. So it's not because of age or because, you know, even people in their 30s can struggle to remember certain things, you know, because of life. It's because it's not in your conscious anymore. It's gone. So you don't need to worry about it. And a good example of this is the other week I was doing a balance. We call them balances. So I was doing a balance on myself and I put down these issues and the balance was really quick. And I went, oh, okay, no worries. I'll write them down again and I'll go through it again and see if we can go for a deeper level. The energies wouldn't let me work on it again. I had to change what I was doing. Like I had to go to another level or another version of it. And when I did that, then, and not from a, you know, one-to-one version, it was just like another level of it. Once I did that, then it went, yes, we can work on that. And so then it allowed me to do another balance.
All right. Well, so I just want the audience to know, as I sit here and listen to this, I'm not a woo person and I'm not sure about all this past life stuff and all the things that you're saying, but I can say that my experience is that the guilt left me after I saw her. And it took me a couple of days to realize that it was gone because I wasn't
Yeah.
even thinking about it anymore. So
Yeah.
I think this is like, this is what I try to tell people when they want to live consciously and they want to really become aware of what's going on with them, that they have to figure it out. Like they have to pick and choose, but you have to have an open mind because what is it? 2% of reality you can actually see, 2% of
Yeah.
what's around us. So you have to have an open mind about all the things that are out there that can help us to feel better. You know,
Yeah.
not rule things out just because they sound kind of crazy, because it does kind of sound a little crazy for someone who's like down to earth and not into this stuff.
Totally. And I think, you know, my example of, you know, how I came across it was just saying to Kylie, I'm heading to Melbourne. I feel like something's going to happen. I'm not really sure what it is. It's going to be big, but I'm, you know, is that my ego sort of telling me? And then I said, do you know any kinesiologists in Melbourne? And I'd never been to a kinesiologist before and I didn't even know what it was. I just knew that because I hadn't been to somebody before, I went, oh, let's give that a try. Anyway, Kylie puts me on to Anne and says to me, she's a kinesiologist. I went, okay. So I go and visit this Anne lady. I get in an Uber, drive 20 minutes out of town to a house, to a person that I've never met before, and have a 2-hour session with her. And she does all these weird things, like does the muscle testing, then has little vials of certain, I'm going to say, because kinesiology is a sort of plant medicine. So little vials of plant medicine. And then she goes, do you know, like teaches me how, you know, why I'm reacting to certain things that I'm reacting to. And so I have this amazing session with her and she explains a lot of things. And I leave there and I'm like, well, that was really interesting. I'm not sure what kind of happened. And not a lot really happened after that session. But then she did a follow-up session 2 weeks later. And that's when the raw stuff came in. I didn't realize it was raw that she was doing on me. It was Kylie that figured this all out later on. And it was then that things started to drop in. And what I felt like I was doing was I'd get on a phone call with her and it may go for 15 minutes to half an hour at tops. I'd put a couple of issues out there and say, these are the things that I want to work on. They could be physical issues like my lungs. I put judgment in there, or if I'd had an argument with my husband, I'd put that in there, or, you know, parental issues or any of that sort of stuff. I'd put it all in there. And what I say was I was putting it into her cauldron. I called her my witch. I thought it was really good fun. And I'd put it in the cauldron. We'd hang up the call. She'd do the work. And then she would call me back about 45 minutes to an hour later. She'd run through, like with you, all these things that came up. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And then there was nothing to do with it. I just got on with life. And I was like, this is like going to the gym, but I'm not doing the workout. The personal trainer's doing the workout, but I get the benefit because it's clearing my subconscious. So it was like this massive win-win where I didn't have to even be in the room, like going for a massage that I literally have to physically be there. I didn't have to. I could go and put the washing out, do another podcast, do whatever I needed in life. And then I'd come back and she's done all this work on me and it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little about, if you know this, I'm not sure if you do or not, but I know they have different, like they can do this for your personal life. They could do this for your work or business in different areas. And also it was actually pretty affordable.
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
things that are out there. That's what drew me to it, because I was like, oh, I'm totally going to try this. So talk a little bit about like some of the things that you can do if you go there.
You can do anything. So I was really business focused at the beginning, but then I started to put like fear in the cauldron. My husband has a back issue, so we'd throw that in there. Like I would do, once I was trained, I would do some work on him around his back. You can do relationship stuff. You can clear like blocks to your next level. So say you're working towards something in your own life, you can clear whatever those blocks are to move forward. So, and you can also create, like put in that integration. I want to integrate into whatever my next level is and how that looks like for me. But you could do your house, you could do your car, relationships with your kids and struggles that you're having. And you can do obviously a lot of personal work as well. So anything that you can think of, you can do a balance on.
Yeah. Do you think it's best to wait then? Like, I mean, because you don't want to like every day be running there to pay money to get a balance. And if you don't want to learn yourself how to do it, it's better. Is there a time frame that you should wait before you go back and do another one, or can you do it right away?
You can do it right away if you want to. But what I was doing was with Anne was every second week for the first 3 sessions. So I had my first session, 2 weeks later, my second session, 2 weeks later, my third session. And then we went to monthly. So just once a month, it was like a tune up, just going in, having a conversation with her, dropping a few things in the bucket and then letting her do her magic and it would clear. In terms of doing it for yourself, like it's really beneficial, the introductory level. And like you said, it's really affordable. I think it was like 150 Australian dollars. So for you guys, it's maybe 100 US dollars to do a 6-hour course. And then you've got the, you can clear emotions and you can clear affirmations, and they're really beneficial.
It's that
yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See, I love things that are affordable.
Yeah.
Oh, that, especially because of how often, which probably has something to do with it, right? And they don't do it in unless you're like getting trained, they don't do it in packages. They just do individual sessions, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, you can either go and have your individual sessions, which you can book online. I think that's how you did it, was just book through their website. But there's also people in the US that are trained by Pam and Sally that are doing this work as well. So someone could go and see a role consultant in the US. And typically you'll find that through, I think they'd probably advertise themselves as kinesiologists. But you could probably come back to Pam and Sally and just say, hey, I'm looking for someone in the US. Can you recommend somebody that you've trained to be able to do this work for me? You know, so
well,
there's
I think it was
options.
Sally that did it with me, and she was pretty funny, so I'd do it with Sally.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But so that brings up another point, that you don't have to be there in person to do it, which is another reason why I like it. Like, it's crazy online how many things are available to us. There almost everything you can do without being in a room with the person. And I think a lot of people have a really hard time believing that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you do. But when you start to see the results, like, you know, when I put judgment into the cauldron, into her thing, the next day I woke up and something happened down in our kitchen with my husband did something. I can't remember what it was. And I went to judge and my brain popped up and went, we don't do that anymore. And I went, oh, okay, no worries. Got back in my box. Do you know what I mean? So it's really subtle. And like I said, I just dropped them in the bucket and went off and did the gardening or whatever I was going to do. And then she came back, read it to me, and it was gone. So simple. And you can do it online. I think, you know, and you don't even have to have the reading come back to you. So she can do the balance, burn it, and you're done. That's as simple as it is. You don't need to even be there.
It's kind of fun to get it read back to you, though.
It is kind of fun, especially in the beginning. Yeah.
I like hearing what's going on and what it's about. Maybe I'll do one for my business, because I haven't done. I just did the one, but I actually, it's so affordable. Like, why not?
Just give it a try and see what happens. And that's what I did. And then I started to notice these little changes, and I was like, oh, this is really cool stuff. Like, this is happening. And that's when, you know, it was like, oh, maybe I should learn this. And because I didn't realize it was raw at the beginning, I started looking at kinesiology, which is, I don't know, it's about 4 years of study. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. But then when Kylie started unpacking it, and she was like, oh, they've got the introductory course here, and then you can spend 12 months if you want and get all the levels done, because they basically release a level every month sort of thing. But for me, I did the introductory level. I managed to do level 1. It was my son's birthday. We managed to shift his party to the week before so I could do it. And then level 2, I didn't have anything on that weekend. I was like, okay. And sometimes it's weekend, sometimes it's week, just depends. But with level 3, I couldn't make it work. So I'm doing that in November of this year. And that's okay. Like, it's just see what works for you and just allow it to flow. Yeah.
If it doesn't work, then it's not supposed to work.
Correct. But it's super affordable. It's something that everybody could do and just try it out. And I would suggest giving it a couple of goes. Like, don't just do it once. Go back for that second time and just see if anything shifts and changes, and create that awareness in your life. And then if it resonates with you, then keep going, but do it on the time frame that works for you. I did monthly because I like to book things in. But as Pam and Sally will say, our names will come to your mind when you're ready for your next session. You don't need to just book in on a regular basis. Just come back when you're ready. Yeah,
I just love that whole approach.
Yeah.
Especially with the projector in human design. Like, I'm the lighthouse sitting here. So come and find me when you're ready. But let's briefly tell them about the podcast episode that you did with both of them, and the one with Kylie, so that they can find that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to my Soul Life podcast, which is with Susan Scollen, and it's on all of your platforms. And I interviewed Pam and Sally on episode 242. So it was Rekindled Ancient Wisdom, it was Rekindled Ancient Wisdom, wasn't it? Anyway, 242, look for that. And that's where I'm talking to Pam and Sally, and they will give you their background, which I've given you a little bit about today, but they will give you their deeper background, how did this work come about? How have they evolved it? And as Sally said, she said, if we knew back in the beginning what it was going to become, we would never have started. So it needed to be dropped into them piece by piece, and they just started picking it up and playing around with it and see where it went to. And then they also give us some examples as well of people that have benefited from this healing. So you can hear some pretty incredible examples. For example, Pam's husband, who I think they've been together for maybe 2 or 3 years, and he has a heart condition. Well, his last heart follow-up with his cardiologist, the cardiologist said everything's healed and whatever you're doing is working, which is an anomaly in the heart world. Most of the time you're still on the drugs and you're doing all the things. And all Pam had been doing was, her husband is the dummy, basically, when they do a course. So he'll come in and he'll be the body on the table, and they'll show you how to do a balance when somebody's in the room. But she hadn't been focusing specifically on her heart. She'd been focusing on whatever his issues were that day. And so that just demonstrates for me how everything's connected. So we don't necessarily, for me, like with my lung issue, I don't have to focus on the lungs. I can just focus on, say, emotions or a struggle that I'm having, or something I want to bring into my life, whatever that might look like. And I can do a balance on that, but it'll have a flow-on effect into my lungs as well. So anyway.
I totally believe that too. And did you do an episode, Rasam, with
Yes.
Yes.
So that was the next episode. So that was 243, and that's where we talk about our journey to get to raw and what we've learned along the way. And Kylie she's in deep. She is hands in, feet in, the whole body in. She does a balance on herself every single day. She does balances for other people as well. She's just done level 5. So, and we only did the introductory in October of last year. So she's fully in there. So we have a good laugh in that episode, and we just talk about our journey and the things that we've learned along the way, and the benefits that she's seen. And it's been pretty transformative, her journey and what's happened for her. She doesn't go too far into that, but it's pretty impressive what's happened for her.
Is there anything else that you think the audience needs to know about Ra?
I think whilst, you mentioned before, it's pretty woo-woo, it's where we're going anyway. So it's kind of like, just give yourself permission just to open up to it. it doesn't mean, like, it's not religion. So it's not linked to your religion. It's just about who you are and who you put yourself out in the world to be. So I'd suggest just give it a go, try it out, play around with it, experiment. As a 3-5 in human design, everything for me is about experimentation. So if I can encourage people just to experiment with it, I think you'll find that you receive benefit in a way that resonates with you. And then it can just be a tool that you come back to when and if you need it. And if it's not for you, that's okay too.
Yeah. And if you're feeling a nudge to do it, or like some kind of inkling that it might be something that would be beneficial to you, those are really important nudges to pay attention to, because that's your intuition trying to guide you in the right direction. And just like with Sally and
Pam,
yeah, how they didn't know what was going to happen with their business. It's the same thing. I don't know what's going to happen with mine, and Susan doesn't either. It's trusting the process and making one decision at a time based on your intuition and your inner authority. And then you find out after the fact where you ended up going to. I have no idea what's going to be happening next year at this time.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're going to go on the journey and have some fun.
Yes, exactly. It's very fun. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you coming and explaining what the hell happened to me with that woman from Australia.
It's, of course, that woman from Australia. It was out of control. It's what we do here in Australia. So we actually get you on the planes. We condition you on the planes when you come in.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
yes, I know. All right, audience. I know you learned something valuable here today. I'll see you next episode. Thanks for being here and learning about Brain BS. I hope you enjoyed listening to the episode as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. If you did, please take a little time to do a quick review, give me 5 stars, and share it with everyone you know. If you're actually interested in being on the podcast yourself or have questions about it, you can find me in the Brain BS podcast community on Facebook. See you next time.